Today's cross-border services leave Belfast for Dublin 4 times daily, and they're set to improve. £80 million is to be spent upgrading the enterprise service, which is run jointly by North and South. Yet only 4 years ago, the terrorists tried to kill it off altogether. The response from both sides was the creation of the Peace Train by Chris Hudson from Dublin and Sam McCourtry from Belfast.
It began in October 1989 when a group of people decided that the policy that the IRA had of bombing and disturbing the line between Belfast and Dublin didn't make sense, and it was time someone pointed this out to them and challenged it. And the way in which they were challenged was that a train was chartered, a big notice was put across the front of the Peace Train. It was filled with people from right across the divide, with academics, politicians, ordinary folk, and we made the journey then from Dublin to Belfast, and we brought the Dubliners north, and then we all went back down again, bringing the Northerners to the south to make a point.
I mean, one of the nice things I had happen to me was recently there was a football match between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, and a gang of lads from the Shankill Road, which is in the heart of loyalist Belfast, called the Shankill Defenders Club, phoned me up and said, will you come to the match with us? And I went to the match, and I was up on the terrace with them, and they had Union Jacks and loyalist flags, but they carried a Peace Train banner. And one of the funny things was every time they held up a Union Jack, some of the Dublin supporters down on the lower terrace had apoplexy, screaming abuse of this Union Jack. But when they take that down and put up the Peace Train banner, there'd be cheers and applause for the Peace Train. So in that sense, we like to claim that it's working.
113 miles south of Belfast and twice its size is Dublin, once the second city of the British Empire, now the capital of the Irish Republic. Great British buildings like the post office are now shrines of independent Ireland, and though the streets and faces have a familiar feel to them, there are characters here who could only be found in Ireland, like Molly Malone's, ancient and modern.
Anyone for tobacco? Anyone for tobacco? Only
in O'Connell Street, the Irish show that they can be as grand with their past as anyone else. But their national heroes range from the local, Jim Larkin, the trades union leader, William Dargan, the railway builder, to the world-renowned Bernard Shaw, James Joyce. For a country of only 3.5 million people, Ireland continues to produce more than her fair share of world beaters. I rode the train around Dublin Bay with one of them, The Edge from U2, the most successful rock band of our time.
There's a combination of healthy disrespect for authority and traditions within the Irish that attracts them to things like music, rock and roll, and writing. If you notice all the great Irish writers, they tended to really take liberties with the form, you know, James Joyce being the obvious example. I mean, he almost created his own language out of the English language. Oscar Wilde with his aphorisms and his whole way of looking at things was very much his own. And I think that spirit of questioning, of not taking things on face value, of kind of being a little bit suspicious, has given the Irish a very particular way of looking at the world and of things that most other people just take for granted. There's something deeply kind of personal about the way that people relate to you in Ireland that deflates the whole impersonality of being a star, which we find really helpful and healthy, and we like that. The whole idea of us being ambassadors of people looking to us for leadership or some clue as to the way they should act or think completely terrifies us, and we really would much prefer that we're perceived as we are, which is just a rock and roll band.
More than half Dublin's million-strong population is under 25 and growing every year. It's all a far cry from the dark days of the 19th century when young Irish men and women couldn't wait to get out of the country.